Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure review. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the Mighty Thor from the upcoming Love and Thunder movie. Alright, so to be honest with you, this is the third time I'm shooting this video. The first two times I shot this video, I couldn't get the play feature to work. So this figure has like a really cool gimmick where you're supposed to squeeze the legs together and then she starts swinging her hammer around. Now, in the first two videos, the first two attempts to shoot this video, I couldn't get this to work properly, and I thought my figure was completely broken. It's a very finicky gimmick, just to warn you in advance. You need to position the arms correctly in order to get this to work, and I kind of feel like the box is very misleading. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So this is the much more budget-priced figure, and when I say budget, quote-unquote budget, because there has been a price increase on some of these Hasbro budget figures. I believe this one might have been like $16. And, compared to some of the previous budget figures we've gotten in the past, like with Spider-Man and Shang-Chi, I believe those were a little bit less. So yeah, I mean, the price point between this and a Marvel Legends also saw a price increase also. Let me grab that figure real quick. So I believe I paid maybe $24 for this figure here. If for long-time collectors, you'll remember that Marvel Legends figures were priced around maybe $19 or $20 back in the day. But there has been a price increase on these guys. And this is a much more premium toy aimed at the serious collector. A figure like this is aimed more so at parents and kids. And, what gives it away is more so the play feature. With this figure, you're getting a much more premium figure, better sculpting, better paint application, more accessories. The cheaper figures, it's more about, play features. The chances are these figures are normally have some sort of gimmick that they sell the toy on. And in this case, it's the spinning hammer. Alright, so be on the lookout. I'll review this figure in the future, but for now, we're going to focus on this one right here. And as I stated, this is actually my third take on this video. The first two shoots were a mess. I couldn't get the spinning hammer to work, but I got it to work now. So I kind of feel like the instructions are misleading because when you look at it, the figure is in a very neutral pose, and when you squeeze the legs together, this looks great. It looks like the hammer and the arm is going to spin around like crazy. So my issue was when I first unboxed this figure, I had the arm down in a very neutral pose like so, and then when I squeeze the legs, alright, it works there, but when you squeeze the legs, it did this. It just grind the gears, and then the hammer wouldn't move. So what I found that if you want the gimmick to work most of the time is raise the arm so that the elbow is above shoulder level. And the weight of the hammer, gravity naturally just wants to pull this thing down. And then when you squeeze the legs together, it does the spinning hammer gimmick. And as you can see, it doesn't fire off completely every time. Sometimes you'll get the gears to grind, other times you'll get it to spin. Now the play feature, I think it's cool, but I do think it could have been made to be executed a little bit better. This isn't foolproof. You really do need to position the elbow in the right position, or the hammer's not going to fly. If you start off on a neutral position like this, the gears will just grind, and then you're going to think the toy is broken, much like I thought. But the higher you raise up the elbow, gravity will work in its favor, and then it'll cause the hammer to spin around. But like I said, it doesn't fire off. It's not 100% of the time, and for me, that's the very frustrating thing about this toy. I really wanted to like it because I do like toys with a play feature. But like I said, you kind of need to position the arm in the sweet spot to get it to work. And when it does work, it's fantastic. That looks great. I think it's a very cool feature. But at the same time, I could picture little ones being frustrated. They might have the arm down in a downward position, and it might not always fire off. You're just going to grind the gears. So, if you have this figure, just be sure to position the elbow high enough. And then once you have the sweet spot down, it works. And it looks pretty cool. I like that a lot. My issue was with the instructions. The instructions are kind of vague. It shows the figure with the arms downward in a neutral position. And then you kind of assume that when you squeeze the legs together that it's going to start flailing around and look awesome like this. That's not the case. You just kind of need to position the arm initially in the right position. So if you have this figure, get the elbow nice and high, and then when you squeeze the legs together, hopefully you'll get the gimmick to work, just like that. So yeah, it's a very finicky gimmick. It doesn't work all the time, but when it does work, I think it looks cool. All right, so let's talk about this figure in terms of the sculpting and detail. For a figure that's priced at $16, or at least I paid $16 for it, I think the sculpting is pretty spot on. The eyes look a little buggy, which kind of bother me just a little bit. But the detailing's all there. All the lines are scribed. There's a nice micro texture on the skirt flap. Nice sculpting on the cape. The hair's done well. Same with the helm. The sculpting is fantastic. Articulation-wise, it's going to be very basic. The head just rotates. The arm rotates. There's wrist articulation here. No waist swivel. The legs, for the most part, they're not going to do anything outside of the one here that is kind of like the lever to trigger the gimmick. So yeah, it's a solid figure. At $16 or $15. Is it overpriced? Possibly. I was attracted to this figure because, I really wanted it for the play feature, and, I kind of have a bias towards the much more budget toys. I think that they're well done for the price point. Of course, the price point's a little bit higher than it's been in the past few years, and for me, that was almost forgivable if the play feature worked 100% of the time. For me, the swinging hammer, I could get it to work some of the time, not all the time. And I think when it does work, it looks great. But I do think that a child, if someone's like 6 years old and they want to fire off the arm from like a downward position, it's not going to happen. This is, it's just going to do that. If the instructions were more specific, indicating that you needed to raise the elbow, then that's all in good. But the instructions were kind of vague and misleading on the packaging. They made it look like if you had the arm down from a neutral position, that all of a sudden when you squeeze the legs together, everything would fly around correctly. But that's not the case. So I do think it's a solid figure, but in all honesty, if you're a parent and you want your child to have a Mighty Thor figure, opt for the more expensive one. Don't be fooled by this gimmick. I do think it's a fun gimmick, but the execution could have been done better. The Marvel Legends figure is going to run you a couple dollars more, but at least, you could be rest assured that the figure is going to be solid. It's going to be well made. That's not to say this one isn't, but the play feature, it doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes the gimmick works, sometimes it doesn't. And when it does work, it looks great. This I think looks fantastic. But, like I said, you just need the arm in the sweet spot to get it to function properly. All right, so if I had to rate this figure on a scale of 1 to 10, just to be fair, I'm just going to give it an even 5. That might be a little bit too generous. I do think the sculpting and the paint job is well done. For the budget line, Hasbro, they've always provided a very, very solid figure. But for me, the shortcomings is about the execution of the play gimmick. I do think the spinning hammer could have been done a little bit better. It does work, like I said, but you just need to position the arm in the right place, and the instructions that doesn't indicate that. So yeah, overall, this is a 5. Price-wise, it might be priced a little bit too high, and at that point, just throw in the extra dollars and get the Marvel Legends figure. But I do like the play feature. I do think this is really fun. I just wished it, was a little bit more forgivable in terms of where you had the arm. Because if you don't have the arm in the right place, you just get this. And the instructions don't tell you that. So, alright, so let's wrap this video up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber viewer, Thank you so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. All right, later.